Now we're going to continue with part 2 of our ruler basic skills. We've already learned how to edit our grid, move our ruler and the ruler properties, as well as cut out a hole in this box. So we're going to repeat this process and practice cutting out a hole in the other corners of our box. Next, I would like you to grab the box hole feature, bring it onto your work plane, and set it in place. Notice the size is much too large for what we're doing, so I would like you to edit this box down to the size we made our cylinder, which is 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters. So if I look at these arrows, it shows me the width of my box is 20. I'm going to change that to 10, and I'm going to come over to the depth of my box and change that to 10 millimeters. And our box is now 10 millimeters with these arrows and 10 millimeters with these arrows, front to back, or depth. The height is 20 millimeters. I'm not worried about because I'm going to use it to cut out a hole, and it does not matter the height of the hole that I'm using. We can drag our box in our general area that we need of the bottom right-hand corner of our box. Now, what I need to do is, my ruler is telling me how far my box hole is away from my left-hand corner. That doesn't help me because I want to measure my right-hand corner. So you are going to have to move your ruler. You can do that by grabbing the origin of the ruler. You'll notice you're there when the circle turns red, and I can click and drag my ruler to the other side. If I zoom in and move my screen a little, I can try to put it as close as I can and try and get it right on that corner. If you can't do that, remember, how can we change the location of our red box? Well, if we click on our red box and our ruler, you'll notice that our ruler is going the wrong way. So if you click on the red circle of your ruler, it changes the direction of the ruler and works around in 4 different directions. So if I continue to click my red circle on the ruler, I can set the ruler up so it's going in the correct direction, left towards my box. Now if I click on my red box and I zoom out a little, you'll see these green arrows again. Remember, that tells me how far my red box is from the origin of my ruler. If you can't get it just to the corner of your box, you can change this green arrow, type in 0, and the box will come to you. This green arrow is already on 0, so I'm all set there. Notice our hole did not change because those 2 objects are grouped. Now, when I click on my box, I can position this where I need to. I need this 3 millimeters from the right edge and 3 millimeters from the front. So I can click on this green arrow, change it to a 3, and this green arrow from the right side, change it to a 3, and it will move my box hole into the correct position. Notice equal distances from the right side as well as from the front, and I have the measurement 10 for my box and 10 for my box hole. All right, as well as 3 millimeters for my green arrows telling you where it's located. So now I can cut this hole out of my whole box hole and box object. Let's select our second object by holding down Shift, clicking. We have 2 objects selected. We know that in the properties it says 2 shapes are selected, and I can click Group. And it cuts out the second hole in our red box. Both objects are 3 millimeters from the sides. To continue this practice, we are now going to put an object in the top right corner. So I am going to pull out a triangle, but I'm going to use the roof as my triangle, and we'll set it in the general area. Now, remember, we need to move our ruler to the correct corner. So I can drag my ruler up to the top right corner. General vicinity, I'm going to have to rotate my view, or I can do it with my view cube over here until I see it just right. I can drag that ruler in place as best as I can, or I can change this green arrow and make the box come to me. I'm going to type in, first I need to select my red object rather than my green triangle. My red object, and notice our green ruler says it's negative 41 millimeters away. That does not seem correct. What's that telling me? It's also a negative 41. It's telling me my ruler is going in the opposite direction. My ruler is going to the right in this view. I need to change the direction of my ruler. In order to do that, zoom in on your ruler, the origin. Remember, the circle there turns red. If I click on that circle, the ruler will change directions. It just so happened my first click, it's going the right way. Now, when I click on my red object, it says I'm only 1 millimeter away from the edge. I'm going to change that to 0, and I'm going to change this green arrow to 0. So now my ruler is on the corner of my object, and my ruler is going the right direction. Now let's focus on our triangle. When I click on our triangle and rotate it just a little, our triangle is not oriented the right way to cut out the hole that I need. So when I have the triangle selected, you'll notice that there are two different circular compasses or circular arrows when you hover over, a compass pops up. That tells me I can rotate my object. Unfortunately, that compass is rotating the wrong way, so I have to find the other compass. If I rotate it just a little, maybe look at the triangle from the side, there is my other rotate option. When I hover over that, I'm rotating my triangle the other direction, still not the correct way. So instead of looking at it from this side, let's rotate our triangle this way. There's my third rotate option. Let's rotate it this direction so it's standing up. I can do it by hand, or I can type in, rotate it 90 degrees so it stands on its end. You'll also notice that my triangle is going through my object. That is okay because we're going to cut a hole out. So I don't mind if it goes through my red box. Now let's try and get it into place and the right size. Let's click on our green triangle. First thing, let's reduce our triangle to the right size. We want this 10 by 10. This dimension looks like it's correct, 10 millimeters, but this direction, the left to right or width of our triangle, is too large. Let's change that to 10 millimeters, and our height of 20 does not matter because it's going to cut a hole out. Now let's put it in the correct location. Notice these green arrows give me the location of my triangle. I'm going to set it 3 millimeters from the edge, so I'm going to type in 3 from the side and 3 from the front of this edge. Now my triangle is in the right location, 3 millimeters from each edge. The dimensions, the depth is 10 millimeters, the width is 10 millimeters. The size of the height does not matter because it's going to cut a hole out. Now, remember we have to select both objects to cut our hole. We select on our triangle, we'll hold down our shift on our keyboard and select our red box. Two shapes are selected, and let's go to the group button. So what happened? It didn't cut out our hole. Why is that? That's because I forgot to turn my triangle into a cutout shape. Instead, it was a solid object and it grouped both of my objects. And I know that because they turned them both the same color. So let's undo that with our backwards arrow. Notice my triangle is still solid. I need to turn that into a cutout. How do I do that? If I go over to the properties of my triangle, which is named roof, instead of the solid color, I can select change it to a hole cutout. That'll turn my triangle transparent. And now when I select both objects, two objects selected, and group them, it'll cut the hole into my red box. That's looking great. Now we only have one more object to do. So let's move our ruler before we begin. I'm going to grab the origin of my ruler, move it over to this location. Remember, you can get close and then you can bring the red box to you. But if you'll notice, our ruler is still going the wrong direction. Let's rotate our ruler by clicking on the origin, and it rotated to the correct direction I need. So now when I click on my red box, I can see I'm 1 millimeter away from the origin here and 2 from here. We need to look at those green arrows, change both of those to 0 so my red box comes to the corner of my ruler. Now my ruler is going the right direction. My box is in the corner of my ruler. Now let's bring out our last object. For this, we are going to use a polygon. So find the polygon tool. You can click on it once, bring it out. Remember that size is much too large. So let's first change the size of our polygon. As before, we're going to make the size 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters. Let's look at this, our width. Let's change that to 10. And let's change the depth to 10. There's our polygon. The height does not matter because it's going to be cutting a hole out. Now, just as before, let's locate our polygon in the right location. So we can get it close and then look at the green arrows to see where it's located on the ruler. We're going to move that to 3 millimeters away from the edge, and this one 3 millimeters away from the edge. I can rotate it in an isometric view so I can see both sides, and that looks great. So now we are going to cut a hole out with this polygon, but if you remember before, this is a solid object. In order to cut a hole, I need to change it to a cutout. So I come up to the properties of the polygon, I change it to a hole, which it goes transparent, and now I need to select both objects. I select my polygon, I hold down my shift and select my red box, and then I have two shapes selected, so I know I'm ready to group. And it has cut out our fourth object. That looks great. All objects look like they're the same distance from the edge and in the corner. I'm going to click on my top view to give me the better perspective of my object. And it looks perfect. So now we are going to take a screenshot so we can submit this. I always recommend clicking on your object so we can see the measurements of your object as well as a clear picture of all of the holes and cutouts. And maybe rotate it just a little so we can see how thick it is as well. So now you are set to take a screenshot of this project and submit it to your teacher. Great job.